I balanced the small velvet box in my hand as I pushed open the apartment door. The faint hum of laughter floated from the living room. Her laughter, Lena? I called softly. I'm home early. She didn't answer right away. Her voice was low, playful. Stop it, you're ridiculous, she whispered to someone through her phone. I stood there for a second, listening. My heart was already uneasy. I smiled anyway. I got off work sooner than I thought, I said louder. She turned, startled for a moment, then smiled, the polite kind she used with strangers. Oh, Ethan, you're early. I was just talking to Clara, yeah? I walked closer, placing the gift box on the table. I thought we could go out for dinner. Anniversary dinner, you know. Her eyes flickered toward the box. What's that? Your gift, I smiled, nervous. Open it, she sighed like it was a chore. Ethan, you didn't have to. I wanted to, I said quickly. 5 years, Lena, it matters. She opened the box slowly. The gold necklace caught the light. Her initials, LW, engraved at the back. She looked at it for a few seconds, then gave a tight smile. It's nice. Nice? I asked, half laughing. You don't like it? It's fine, she said, setting the box aside on the table like it was something borrowed. It's just not really my style anymore. Your style? I tried to laugh it off. When did that change? She shrugged. People change, Ethan. You should know that by now. I stared at her face, the one I used to know so well, and felt like I was staring at a stranger wearing her skin. Do you remember the first one I gave you? I asked quietly. You said you'd never take it off, she rolled her eyes. I was 23, Ethan. People say a lot of things when they're young. Right, I muttered. Guess I'm the only one who didn't grow out of us. Her phone buzzed. She grabbed it immediately. I need to take this, she said and walked into the kitchen. I sat on the couch, the velvet box still open beside me. Her voice carried through the thin walls, a softer tone, the kind she hadn't used with me in months. I heard her laugh again. Then words that carved through the air like knives. No, he didn't notice anything. Yeah, I gave that cheap thing to Ryan. He actually liked it. At least someone did. My breath stopped. The room seemed to tilt. Ryan. The name hit harder than any slap. Yeah, he's still trying, she went on, laughing lightly. He even came home early to surprise me. Poor guy, poor guy. That's what I was now, a punchline. I stood up slowly. My fingers curled, but I couldn't move toward her. My throat burned, but no words came out. I just stared at the necklace lying half open in its box, shining, mocking. When she came back into the room, she jumped at the sight of me standing there. Ethan, you scared me. How long have you been— Who's Ryan? I asked quietly. Her eyes widened for a split second, then she smirked. He's one of my students. Why? One of your students who got your anniversary gift? Her lips parted, then pressed together. You're overreacting. It was a joke? A joke? My voice cracked. You gave our anniversary gift to another man and that's a joke? Oh, come on, she crossed her arms. Don't be dramatic. You're always so sensitive. Sensitive? I laughed bitterly. You call betrayal sensitivity now? She scoffed. Betrayal? You really think everything's about you, don't you? Maybe if you paid more attention to what I actually want, I wouldn't need to find it somewhere else. The words hit me like bricks. I felt the ground tilt beneath me. So that's what it is. You're bored. You found someone new. She looked away. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. We stood there in silence, me holding the broken pieces of something I thought would last forever, her staring anywhere but at me. I finally said, You know, I spent 3 months saving for that necklace. She didn't answer. And I spent 5 years believing we were still us. Still silence. When I walked to the door, she finally spoke. Where are you going? For air, I said. Because I can't breathe in here anymore. She muttered something, but I didn't hear. Maybe she called me pathetic already. Maybe she just thought it. Either way, it didn't matter. Outside, the night was quiet. The box felt heavy in my pocket, like a grave marker for everything I lost without even realizing it was gone. I whispered to the darkness, Happy anniversary, Lena. The next morning, I stared at my coffee until it went cold. Lena moved around the kitchen like nothing happened. Late again? She asked, not looking at me. I'm not going in yet, I said. Wanted to talk, she sighed. If this is about last night, it is. She slammed the cupboard door. Ethan, you're being ridiculous. I heard you, Lena. You said his name. Ryan, you said you gave him my gift. She turned slowly, arms crossed. So what if I did? He's one of my students. He liked it more than I did. My hands shook under the table. You gave our anniversary gift to a student? Don't make it sound dirty, she snapped. He's 22, he's sweet, he appreciates me. Something you've forgotten how to do. My chest tightened. I appreciate you every day. I've built my life around you. Then maybe that's the problem, she said coldly. You've got no life outside of me. I stared at her. And Ryan does? He's ambitious, she said with a half smile. He listens. He makes me feel alive. Her words felt like acid. He's a kid, Lena, she laughed, sharp and cruel. Jealous, are we? Should I not be? I asked. She leaned forward. You're 32 and still drive that rusted car like we're stuck in college. You think buying trinkets makes up for everything you lack? I swallowed hard. You used to love that car. I used to love a lot of things, she muttered. I stood. Tell me the truth, Lena, are you seeing him? She looked me in the eye. If I were, what would you do? Cry? Beg me to stop? I clenched my jaw. I'd walk away. Sure, she mocked. Because you're such a tough guy now. Silence fell between us. I stared at her face, so calm, so distant. She didn't even flinch. Finally, I said, You know what hurts the most? Not that you might be with someone else. It's that you think this is funny, her smile faded. Don't be dramatic, Ethan, you always turn everything into a tragedy. Maybe because I'm living one. She rolled her eyes. I have a class in an hour. Can we not do this? Is he going to be there? I asked quietly. She smirked. Probably why. I'd like to meet him. Her laugh echoed through the room. You want to meet him? God, that's pathetic. The word hit like a slap. Pathetic, I repeated softly. Right. She grabbed her bag and keys. Grow up, Ethan. This jealous husband act doesn't suit you. When the door slammed, I finally let the silence swallow me whole. The clock ticked loud enough to drown out my thoughts. I left the house an hour later, driving nowhere. The road stretched ahead like it wanted to swallow me too. Every stoplight gave me time to think, about when she used to hold my hand in traffic, when she used to lean on my shoulder and hum to the radio. I couldn't remember when that stopped. I parked near the campus where she taught. The building looked ordinary, too normal to hold the reason my life was falling apart. I waited in the car until the students started coming out. Then I saw him. Ryan Keller. He looked like every college kid. Messy hair, confidence dripping off him like cheap cologne. Lena walked beside him, laughing. She touched his arm lightly, the same way she used to touch mine. I gripped the steering wheel so tight it squeaked. They didn't see me. Or maybe they did and didn't care. When she waved goodbye and he hugged her, I looked away. My throat felt raw, my chest hollow. I didn't go home after that. I drove until the city disappeared behind me. The night sky stretched endlessly, quiet and cruel. I pulled over near an empty gas station and stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. My eyes looked older than I remembered. Pathetic, I whispered. That's what I am, right? The word burned coming out. I wanted to scream, to break something, but instead I just sat there until the horizon began to lighten. By sunrise, I felt numb, emptied out. The pain didn't fade, but it changed shape. It became colder, clearer. I wasn't ready to hate her yet. Not fully. But I needed to understand how we got here, how love turned into mockery. I turned the key, engine rumbling. I'll find the truth, I said to myself. Not to get her back, just to know why she threw us away. The morning light cut through the windshield, harsh and unkind, but I didn't look away. The office light hummed above my desk. My screen glared back at me, the design I'd been working on blurring into nonsense. I'd read the same line of code 6 times. Ethan, a voice said behind me. You're still here. I turned to see Mr. Brooks leaning against the doorway. His silver tie was crooked. It always was. Yeah, I said quietly. Just finishing the layout, he frowned. You've been finishing that layout since morning. I'm almost done. He sighed and stepped closer. You've been off lately. Is everything all right at home? The question hit harder than he knew. Everything's fine, I lied. Fine, he repeated, skeptical. You know, when people say fine, it usually means the opposite. I tried to smile, but it came out thin. Just tired, sir. He studied me for a moment. Go home, Ethan. Take a day off tomorrow if you need it. I can't. That's an order, he said, soft but firm. You look like you've forgotten how to breathe. I froze. The words echoed, the same ones I hadn't realized I needed to hear. Thanks, I muttered. I'll head out soon. He nodded and walked away. When I turned back to my desk, Hannah was standing a few feet away, holding 2 cups of coffee. Her brown hair framed her face like a curtain, eyes quiet but sharp. You okay? She asked. Yeah. You don't look okay. She set 1 cup near my elbow. Here, extra sugar, like you always take when something's wrong. I tried to smile. That obvious? She sat on the corner of my desk. You've been staring at your monitor for an hour. Either it's broken or you are. A weak laugh slipped out. Guess it's both. You want to talk about it? She asked softly. No, I said. If I say it out loud, it becomes real. She looked at me for a moment, then nodded. Then just drink your coffee. Thanks, I said, wrapping my hands around the cup like it could hold me together. When she left, the silence returned, heavy and thick. I packed my things slowly, dragging every second before I had to go back home, to her. The drive felt endless. My thoughts bounced between anger and disbelief. I wanted to think it was just a misunderstanding, that maybe I'd been wrong. But deep down I knew. When I got home, the lights were dim. Lena's shoes were by the door, her perfume lingering in the air, that same sweet scent that now made me sick. She was in the living room, scrolling through her phone. Hey, I said carefully. Hey, she replied, without looking up. Long day. Always, I hesitated. Can we talk? She sighed. Ethan, not tonight. I'm exhausted. Of course, I said. Just wanted to ask if you're tutoring tomorrow. Yeah, why? Nothing. Just wondering, she finally looked up. You're acting weird again. I'm fine. She shrugged and went back to her phone. When she went to shower, I sat on the couch, staring at the small sound her phone made each time a message arrived. One after another, rapid, playful. I told myself not to look. Told myself I wasn't that kind of man. But my hands moved on their own. The screen lit up. Ryan Keller. My pulse spiked. I opened the thread. You looked stunning today. Wish we had more time. Don't worry about him. He's too busy being boring, and then hers. He's different, Ryan. He listens. He's not dull like Ethan. My chest constricted. The words blurred, but I read them again and again, just to be sure they were real. She walked out of the bathroom a few minutes later, towel over her shoulders. I put the phone down fast. Everything okay? She asked, suspicious. Yeah, I said, my voice tight. Everything's perfect, she smiled faintly. Good. Try to keep it that way. I nodded, but inside everything cracked. I went to the balcony, the cold night air stinging my skin. My hands were still trembling. I wanted to scream, to confront her right then, but the words jammed in my throat. I'd already seen the truth. I didn't need her to lie again. The stars above blurred as tears filled my eyes. I hadn't cried in years. Boring, I whispered to myself. That's what I am to her. The word tasted bitter. Behind me, I heard her humming, that same song she used to hum for me. It cut through the night like a blade. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to breathe. Not tonight, I whispered. Not yet. Because now I needed to know how deep the cracks went, and who I was when they finally broke open. The sound of the fork against her plate was too loud. Every small clink echoed inside me like a reminder. Lena sat across the table, scrolling through her phone while pretending to eat. I stared at the pasta, untouched, going cold, she noticed. You're not hungry? I am, I said, though the food might as well have been ash. She smiled faintly. You cooked tonight. You should be proud. Yeah, my voice cracked. I guess I should. Her phone buzzed again. She tilted it away, trying to be subtle. The flash of Ryan's name was anything but. Busy day? I asked. She looked up, cautious. What? You keep checking your phone. Just messages, she said quickly. For my new project, I set my fork down. Project? Yeah, Ryan's helping me out. The name hung in the air like poison. Ryan Keller? Her tone sharpened. Yes, you know him? I forced a smile. We've met. He's been really supportive, she said, eyes brightening as if she didn't notice my jaw tightening. He understands the vision I have. Finally, someone who gets it, I stared at her. That's great. You don't sound like you mean it. Should I? Her expression flattened. Ethan, can we not do this? Do what? Turn every conversation into some kind of interrogation. I took a slow breath. You're saying I'm interrogating you? Yes, she snapped. I tell you about something exciting and you twist it into suspicion. It's exhausting. I leaned back, feeling the weight of every lie she thought I couldn't see. Lena, I just asked a question. No, she said coldly. You asked because you already assumed the worst. The silence stretched. The clock ticked behind her, each second slicing through the air. I finally said it. Do you still love me, Lena? Her fork froze midair. She didn't answer right away. The pause said more than words ever could. When she finally looked at me, her eyes were calm, distant. Love doesn't pay bills, Ethan. My throat closed. What's that supposed to mean? It means, she said, setting the fork down carefully, that I'm tired of living like this. Tired of you pretending everything's fine when it's not. You want love to fix everything, but it doesn't. Maybe not, I whispered. But it used to mean something. Used to, she echoed softly, as if the word hurt her too, but not enough to stop. I looked at the woman across from me, the same face I'd once dreamed of waking beside for the rest of my life. Now she felt like a stranger rehearsing lines from someone else's play. Ryan's helping you with this project, I said finally. Is that all he's helping with? Her eyes hardened. Don't go there. I'm already there. Then maybe you should go somewhere else, she said sharply. The room went dead quiet. The hum of the refrigerator was the only thing keeping me from breaking completely. I pushed my chair back, the scrape against the floor sounding like thunder. You know, for a second I thought maybe we could fix this, she exhaled slowly, almost pitying. You always think you can fix everything. That's your problem. I looked at her, really looked. The same brown eyes that once searched mine for comfort now looked past me like I was a burden she'd outgrown. You're right, I said softly. That's my problem. Ethan, no, I interrupted. It's fine. You don't have to explain. You already did. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I stood up, the chair legs catching on the rug. I'll clean up later. She didn't stop me. As I walked down the hallway, her voice floated behind me. Don't make this dramatic. I stopped, my hand on the guest room door. I'm not making it dramatic, I said without turning around. I'm just finally listening. I closed the door quietly and sat on the bed. The walls were pale and empty, just like everything between us now. I could hear her moving dishes in the kitchen, humming again, like the conversation never happened. The sound made me sick. I lay back, staring at the ceiling. My chest felt hollow, like something vital had been scooped out. I wanted to cry, but couldn't. The tears sat somewhere deep. Frozen. Love doesn't pay bills, I murmured to the ceiling. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd been living on memories while she was already gone. The house was silent except for her soft laughter, probably at another message. That laughter used to mean home. Now it sounded like goodbye. When I walked into the office Monday morning, the air changed. People weren't subtle anymore. Conversation stopped when I passed by. I could feel their eyes, full of quiet pity and cruel curiosity. Hannah caught up with me at the coffee machine.
Ethan, are you okay?
I forced a smile. Why wouldn't I be? She hesitated. There are things people are saying. I stared at the floor. About what? She looked like she regretted speaking. About Lena, about that student Ryan. I laughed, but it came out sharp. Rumors, huh? Guess the office needed a new hobby. Ethan, it's fine, I cut her off. They'll get bored eventually, but they didn't. The whispers only grew louder. By lunch, I caught phrases drifting through the hall. He still wears his ring. She's with that kid now. Poor guy. By the time I drove home, every glance felt like a bruise. When I stepped inside, Lena was on the couch, smiling at her phone. She didn't even look up. Long day? I asked. Just normal, she said casually, tucking her phone away. I wanted to ask who she was texting, but the words felt useless now. Instead, I just said, I'll be in the guest room. She nodded without looking. That night, I sat in the dark, staring at the faint glow of my laptop. A headline popped up from social media, a photo of Lena and Ryan at a cafe. Her hand was on his. The caption said, "My mentor and student, inseparable team." My stomach twisted. The comments were worse. Some called her inspiring. Others hinted what I already knew. The next morning, Jason showed up at my door without warning. He was one of my oldest friends, blunt, loud, and impossible to ignore. He didn't even say hello. "You look like hell." "Good morning to you too," I muttered. He glanced at the boxes by the wall. "You moving out or giving up?" "Neither," I said. "Just sorting things." Jason crossed his arms. "Sorting or avoiding?" I sighed. "What do you want, Jason?" He walked past me and sat down. "I want to know what the hell you're doing." "I'm surviving." "No, you're sulking," he said flatly. "Everyone knows. I heard about the photos, the messages. She's humiliating you in public, man." "Yeah, I noticed," I said quietly. He leaned forward. "Then what are you going to do about it?" I looked at him. "What can I do? Scream at her? Smash Ryan's face? That'd just make me the joke they already think I am." Jason's voice hardened. "So you're just going to sit here and rot? Cry forever?" I glared. "You think it's that easy?" He slammed his hand on the table. "No! But I think you've got more fight than this. You don't beg for scraps from someone who already threw you away." His words hit something deep inside me, something I'd been trying to bury under grief. I whispered, "You think I should fight?" "I think you should wake up," he said. "She killed your pride. Don't let her bury it too." I sat back silent. His anger wasn't cruel, it was desperate. He stood up to leave. "You don't need revenge, Ethan. You need freedom. Start with that." The door closed behind him, leaving the echo of his words like a spark in the dark. I sat there for a long time, staring at the empty space where he'd stood. Then I opened my laptop again, not to stare this time, but to search phone records. Credit card statements, emails, every trail told a story. I wasn't angry anymore. Not in the way I used to be. This was colder, sharper. When Lena came home later, she called from the hallway. "You ate?" "Yeah," I said. "Good," she replied, heading to her room. I waited until I heard the door click before whispering to myself, "Good." That night, I started collecting screenshots, photos, receipts, her texts, her patterns, her excuses. They all began to fit together like puzzle pieces I'd been too blind to see. I didn't cry. Not once. The next morning, I looked in the mirror. The reflection staring back wasn't the man who begged her to love him. It was someone quieter, steadier. Jason's voice echoed in my head. "You don't need revenge. You need freedom." I nodded to my reflection. "Then I'll find it." For the first time in months, my heartbeat didn't feel like a wound. It felt like a rhythm, steady, deliberate, alive. I waited until Sunday morning. The house was quiet, sunlight spilling through the blinds. Lena sat at the dining table, scrolling through her phone, humming a song that used to be ours. I placed a brown envelope on the table. "We need to talk." She didn't look up. "About what now?" "About this." She finally glanced down, frowning. "What's that?" "Proof," I said softly. Her eyes moved over the papers. Screenshots, call logs, photos. I watched her face stiffen, the color draining from her cheeks. After a long pause, she whispered, "You went through my phone?" I shook my head. "No, I went through our life. You left pieces everywhere." She leaned back, exhaling sharply. "Unbelievable." I could say the same. She slammed her palm against the table. "You think printing this makes you right?" "Makes you less pathetic?" I didn't flinch. "It doesn't make me right. It just makes me done." Her lip curled into a bitter smile. "You're unbelievable, Ethan. You act like a victim in some tragic movie. You couldn't keep me happy, and now you're shocked someone else could." I swallowed hard.
Someone else?
"He's half your age, Lena." "At least he makes me feel alive," she snapped. "You haven't done that in years." I nodded slowly. "Maybe because I was too busy trying to hold everything together while you tore it apart," she laughed bitterly. "You call this holding it together? You couldn't even buy a decent gift without acting like it was a sacrifice." I stared at her, my voice low. "That gift had meaning. You just forgot what meaning feels like." She crossed her arms. "You're pathetic, Ethan. Always talking about meaning, love, loyalty, none of it pays bills. None of it changes the fact that I was dying next to you." My chest tightened, but I didn't raise my voice. "Then you should have told me, not replaced me." "I told you every day," she said coldly. "You just never listened." The silence that followed was heavy, like the house itself was holding its breath. Finally, I said, "You're right. I didn't listen. I kept believing we could fix something that was already gone." She tilted her head. "So what now? You gonna cry? Beg me to stay?" "No," I said quietly. "I came to tell you I'm filing for separation." For the first time, she blinked. "You're serious?" I nodded. "Dead serious," she scoffed. "You won't last a week without me." "Maybe not," I admitted. "But at least I'll finally know who I am without your voice in my head telling me I'm nothing." Her smirk faded. "You think you'll find peace? You won't. You'll wake up alone and realize you threw away the best thing you ever had." I looked around the dining room. Our wedding photo still hung crooked on the wall. The walls seemed to echo every fight, every lie, every half-smile we'd shared. "I already lost the best thing I ever had," I said. "It died long before this morning." She stood up abruptly. "Get out, Ethan." I gathered the papers slowly. "I'll leave soon. Just remember, you didn't lose me today. You lost me the day you decided I wasn't enough." She didn't answer. She just turned away, shoulders tense. I walked toward the door, pausing one last time. "Take care of yourself, Lena." Her voice came cold and flat. "Don't pretend you care." "I don't have to pretend," I said. Then I left. The air outside felt different, sharper, cleaner, painful in a freeing way. I drove without a destination until the courthouse came into view. I parked and stared at the steps for a long time before walking in. The clerk handed me the forms. "Separation filing?" she asked. "Yes." My voice was steady. Back at work the next day, Hannah found me by the window. "You did it?" she asked quietly. I nodded. She handed me a cup of coffee. "You look lighter." "Feels strange," I said. "Like I'm finally breathing after drowning for years." She smiled gently. "Then keep breathing, Ethan. Don't stop now." I looked at her, at the simple kindness in her eyes. "Thank you," I whispered. "For what?" "For seeing me when I forgot how to see myself." She didn't reply. She just stood there beside me, silent, steady. And for the first time, the silence didn't hurt. It had been 5 months since I walked out of that house. 5 months since I'd last heard her voice outside my memories. Therapy became routine. Workouts replaced whiskey. Silence stopped being my punishment. It became my peace. One morning, as I walked into the office, Hannah greeted me with that quiet smile of hers. "You look different," she said. I laughed softly. "Better or worse?" "Stronger," she said, like someone who stopped apologizing for breathing. "Guess I'm finally learning," I replied. Later that week, Mr. Brooks called me into his office. "Ethan, your proposal for the client landed. They want you to lead the new project," I blinked. "Me?" he smiled. "You earned it. You've been sharper than ever." When I stepped out, Hannah was waiting by the door. "Promotion." "Yeah," I said, still half shocked. She grinned. "See? Told you good things grow from burnt ground," I chuckled. "Didn't think ashes could bloom." "Sometimes they do," she said. That night, as I walked home through the city lights, I saw a missed call. Lena. My chest tightened, but I didn't call back. I didn't delete it either. I just let it sit there like a memory that no longer controlled me. 2 days later, Jason called. "Hey man, you sitting down?" "What now?" I asked. He hesitated. "You didn't hear?" "Hear what?" "Ryan's been bragging around town. Said he's been using Lena for her money. Took her savings, her car, even her credit cards." I was silent for a moment. "You're serious?" "As a heart attack. Clara told me she cut her off too. Said Lena begged her for help." I leaned against the counter. "And?" "She told her to fix her own mess." I didn't know whether to laugh or pity her. "Guess karma's not just a story people tell to feel better." Jason snorted. "Nah, man. It's patient. It waits." "I'm not celebrating," I said quietly. "I just finally understand," he softened. "You sound different, Ethan." "I am," I said. "I stopped chasing explanations. People show you who they are. Eventually, the universe finishes the conversation for you." He was silent for a beat. "You're finally free, huh?" "Yeah," I said. "And it doesn't even feel like revenge. It feels like balance." A week later, at the company event, Mr. Brooks handed me an award, Employee of the Year. The applause felt strange, but honest. Hannah whispered beside me, "You deserve this." I looked at her. You've been saying that for months, she smiled. Because it's true, I gave a small laugh. Feels like life's apologizing in its own way. Maybe it's just returning what it owes, she said. After the event, I walked outside for air. The night breeze carried the faint sound of music from a nearby bar. I checked my phone again, 3 missed calls. Lena. My thumb hovered over the screen. For a second, the old ache surfaced, the memory of her laugh, her scent, her betrayal. Then I locked the phone and slipped it into my pocket. Hannah joined me outside. Everything okay? Yeah, I said. Just ghosts knocking on closed doors. She tilted her head. You going to answer? No, I said. Some doors need to stay shut. She nodded. Good. We stood there quietly, the streetlights painting soft halos on the wet pavement. I whispered, half to myself, funny thing about karma, it doesn't need witnesses. It just does its job. Hannah smiled faintly. Then maybe it's finally clocked in. I looked up at the night sky. Guess it's my turn to start living, not just surviving. She touched my arm lightly. Then live. No one's holding you back anymore. I looked at her, at the calm strength in her eyes. Thank you, Hannah. For staying when everyone else left. She shook her head. I didn't stay, you did. That's the hard part. Her words sank deep. For the first time, I felt weightless. Not because everything was fixed, but because I'd stopped needing it to be. When I got home, I poured a glass of water instead of whiskey and stood by the window. The city pulsed with life, uncaring, unstoppable. My phone buzzed again. I didn't check. I didn't need to. Good night, Lena, I murmured to the empty room. No bitterness, no hate, just peace. I turned off the light, knowing tomorrow would come, and for once, I actually wanted it to. The clock read 12:03 a.m. when my phone buzzed. The room was dark except for the faint blue glow from the screen. A message. Lena. My breath caught before I even opened it. I hesitated, thumb hovering, then finally tapped. I was wrong. Ryan left me. I miss you. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed you to know. The words just sat there. Small, digital, fragile. My first thought was disbelief. The second was silence. Then came the voice in my head. Don't reply. A knock on my door startled me. Hannah's voice came softly. You're still awake? I blinked. Yeah. Couldn't sleep. She stepped inside, holding 2 mugs. I made tea. Thought you might need it. I smiled faintly. You always show up at the strangest hours. Midnight's honest, she said. People stop pretending when it's this quiet. I laughed under my breath. You're right about that. She noticed the light from my phone. You look like you saw a ghost. Maybe I did, I said, handing her the screen. She read it quickly. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. Wow, yeah, she looked at me. What are you going to do? Nothing. Nothing? Yeah, I said. I'm not replying. She studied me for a moment. You sure? More sure than I've been about anything. She handed the phone back. That's progress, Ethan. I exhaled slowly. Feels strange. I used to wait for her messages like they were oxygen. And now? Now they're just noise? Hannah smiled softly. That's what healing sounds like. I chuckled, but it came out heavy. You think people really change? She shrugged. Some learn, some don't. But you did. I don't know if I changed, I said. Maybe I just stopped lying to myself. That's still change, she said. It's just the honest kind. I stared at the screen again. She said she misses me. Funny how people miss you when their comfort leaves. Pain makes everyone sentimental, Hannah said. But regret isn't love. I looked at her. You always know what to say, don't you? She smiled faintly. Only because I've been there. We sat in silence for a while. The steam from her tea curled between us like something alive. Finally, I said, you know, part of me expected this. That one day she'd realize what she threw away. And another part? Didn't care anymore. That's the part that's winning, she said. I nodded slowly. I thought closure came from hearing I'm sorry. Turns out it comes from not needing to. She leaned back, watching me. So what are you waiting for? I picked up the phone again. For peace. Then maybe it's time to make space for it, she said. I smiled. You're right. My thumb hovered over the message one last time. I whispered, goodbye, Lena. Then I hit delete. No satisfaction. No victory, just quiet. Hannah exhaled softly. How does it feel? Like I just put down a weight I didn't know I was carrying. She smiled. That's forgiveness, I shook my head. Not for her. For me? Exactly. I set the phone on the table, screen dark now, reflection faint. For so long I blamed her for breaking me. But I think I broke myself by loving someone who didn't love me back. Hannah's eyes softened. You were human. That's not a crime. I made excuses for her lies, I said quietly. Called it devotion. Called it love. But really it was fear. Fear of being alone. And now? Now I'd rather be alone than lost. She smiled. That's freedom, Ethan. The clock ticked softly. 12:27 a.m. She stood, stretching. You'll sleep tonight, I smiled faintly. Maybe for the first time in years. Good night, she said, pausing at the door. You did the right thing. When she left, the apartment felt light, almost new. I walked to the window. The city was asleep. No noise, no chaos, just the hum of distant lights. For a long moment, I just breathed. No thoughts of her. No questions. No pain, just peace. I whispered to the glass, I forgive you, Ethan. And for the first time, I meant it. I parked across the street and stared at the house that used to be mine. The paint looked newer, the curtains different, but the bones were the same. Every memory I'd buried seemed to wait for me there, silent, patient. I stepped out of the car, my breath visible in the chill. You still look the same, I whispered to the house. But I'm not. The gate creaked when I pushed it open. The sound hit me like an echo from the past. I walked to the porch slowly. The door wasn't mine anymore, but I could still see Lena's handwriting on the frame where she'd once written, Our Forever. I almost smiled. Forever lasted 3 years, I murmured. A car pulled up behind mine. I didn't turn. I knew it was Hannah. She stepped beside me, quiet as always. You came, I said softly. You asked me to, she replied. I figured you shouldn't do this alone. I'm not sure what this even is. Closure, she said. Or maybe just a visit to an old version of yourself, I chuckled. He lived here once. Thought love could fix everything? Did it? No, I said, but it broke me enough to rebuild differently. We stood there for a moment, the silence stretching comfortably between us. Someone new lives here now, she said. Yeah, a family, I think. I saw toys in the yard, she smiled faintly. Good. Houses should hold laughter, I nodded. It's strange. I thought coming here would hurt more. And does it? I shook my head. No, it feels distant. Like watching someone else's movie. Maybe because you've outgrown the script. I looked at her. You always say things that sound like endings, she smiled. Or beginnings. I glanced at the window where Lena once stood waiting for me. I used to come home and see her silhouette right there. That light in her eyes, it made everything worth it. And now? Now I see myself standing here trying to prove I mattered. You did, she said gently. Not to her. To yourself, Hannah corrected. That's who needed it most. I took a deep breath, exhaling the ghosts that had stayed too long. You ever wonder why we chase people who hurt us? She nodded. Because pain feels familiar. Comforting even. Until one day it doesn't, I turned to her. You make healing sound poetic, she smiled. It's messy, but so is growth. The wind rustled through the trees. For a moment, it sounded like laughter, the kind that used to fill this porch. I said quietly, we fought right there. That night she told me she didn't love me anymore. Hannah followed my gaze. And what did you say? Nothing. I just listened to the sound of everything falling apart. Sometimes silence says what words can't, she said softly. I nodded. Back then, silence killed me. Now it heals me. She looked at me, eyes gentle. That's the difference between grief and peace. Yeah, I said. Peace doesn't beg to be heard. We sat on the edge of the old porch steps. The wood creaked beneath us. Feels like a lifetime ago, I said. It was, she replied. You just didn't notice time passing while you were healing, I smiled faintly. Funny how pain slows time, but peace speeds it up. Maybe because peace doesn't need attention, she said. I laughed softly. You're full of quotes tonight. Someone's got to balance your brooding. Fair point. We fell quiet again. The streetlight flickered on, casting a soft orange glow across the driveway. I thought I'd cry, I admitted, but I feel light. That's because you already said goodbye, she said. This is just you realizing it's over. I looked up at the dark sky. Do you think forgiveness ever feels complete? She tilted her head. Not complete, just enough, I nodded. Enough sounds good, she smiled. Then it's enough. I stood and looked at the house one last time. Thank you for the memories, I whispered. Even the painful ones. Hannah rose beside me. Ready to go? Yeah, I said. Finally, we walked back to the car. The air was cold but clean. Before getting in, I turned once more. The house stood quiet, peaceful, like it had forgiven me too. Hannah rested her hand on my shoulder. Home isn't a place, Ethan. It's who you become after you leave it. I smiled. Then I guess I'm home now. And for the first time, I truly believed it. The stage lights were warm against my skin, brighter than I remembered. I adjusted the microphone and looked at the crowd gathered before me. Students, professionals, faces searching for meaning in pain. My name's Ethan, I began, my voice steady. And a year ago, I thought my life was over. A few people leaned forward. Silence spread like respect. I lost my marriage, my confidence, my sense of worth. But I learned something strange. Sometimes being broken saves you. A murmur passed through the audience. I smiled slightly. Because when you shatter, you see what was fragile all along. A hand went up. A young man asked, How do you start again when everything reminds you of what you lost? I nodded. You stop waiting for closure from the people who hurt you. You build it yourself. You let the memories fade on their own schedule, not yours. He looked down, writing something. I continued. Pain doesn't ask for permission, but healing doesn't either. It happens quietly. One breath, one small win, one kind word at a time. From the corner of my eye, I noticed her. Back row. Lena. She was thinner, her makeup faded, her eyes hollow but familiar. The sight hit me like a whisper from an old life. I took a breath. And sometimes, I said slowly, the people who called you weak will someday watch you stand tall. Not for revenge, but for peace. Her gaze lifted. Our eyes met. I didn't flinch this time. I simply held her stare, calm, unshaken. My heart didn't race. It just existed, steady, quiet. I went on. A year ago, I thought love was supposed to save me. Turns out it was supposed to teach me. And when it ended, I realized I wasn't losing someone. I was finding myself. Someone in the front row clapped softly. Others followed. I smiled. See, resilience isn't about pretending you're okay. It's about admitting you're not and still getting up the next day. A woman near the aisle asked, What helped you get through the worst days? People, I said. The ones who saw me at my lowest and didn't walk away. A good friend named Jason, my boss Mr. Brooks, and someone who reminded me what calm feels like, Hannah. The audience listened quietly. She never tried to fix me, I said. She just stood beside me until I remembered how to breathe again. The room was silent. Even Lena's face softened. I continued, We all want someone to see our worth. But the truth is, no one can see what we keep hiding from ourselves. A man in the second row asked, Do you forgive the people who hurt you? I paused. I used to think forgiveness was about them. Now I know it's about me. I forgave her the day I stopped needing her to understand what she destroyed. My voice steadied, stronger than before. And that's freedom, when your peace no longer depends on their apology. The applause was gentle, heartfelt. I let it fade before finishing. I stand here today not as a victim, not as someone who was betrayed, but as someone who rebuilt from ashes. The man I am now? He's everything the broken version of me prayed to become. I looked directly at Lena. She lowered her eyes. I smiled, not in triumph, but in release. Pain, I said, isn't the end of your story. It's just the part where you finally decide to write it yourself. The crowd stood, clapping louder. I stepped back, letting their energy wash over me. After the talk, people came to shake my hand. I thanked them one by one until the room began to empty. When I finally turned, Lena stood a few feet away. Ethan, she said quietly. You've changed, I met her eyes. I had to. I'm sorry, I know. I offered a faint smile. But it's okay. You were my lesson. She blinked back tears. You really don't hate me? No, I said. Hating you would mean I still live there. I moved out a long time ago. Her shoulders fell. You became everything I said you'd never be. Yeah, I said softly. The man you called pathetic. She nodded once and walked away. I watched her go, not with pain, not with pride, but with peace. Hannah appeared by the door, smiling. You did it, I smiled back. We both did. Outside, the evening sun was melting into gold. I stepped into it, breathing freely. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a survivor. I felt alive.